As Pope Francis met President Obama this morning, the Pope received a historic thumbs up from his flock in America. A CBS News poll out this morning shows 48% of U.S. Catholics believe their church is in touch with their needs. It is the first time our poll has ever found more people saying the church is in touch than out of touch.
Today's Vatican meeting is the 28th time that a sitting American president has met with a pope. Bill Plante at the White House says that relationship took more than a century to establish. Bill, good morning.
Good morning. You know, Woodrow Wilson was the first American president to visit the Pope back in 1919. He met with Benedict XV after the two had already exchanged several letters regarding World War I. But it would be 40 years before another president would visit the Vatican. When President Eisenhower made his trip to Rome in 1959, there was still strong anti-Catholic sentiment in the U.S., something President Kennedy encountered as a candidate and which prompted a famous speech to a group of Protestant ministers.
I am not the Catholic candidate for president. I am the Democratic Party's candidate for president, who happens also to be a Catholic.
When President Kennedy did meet with the Pope in 1963, he shook hands rather than kiss the Pope's ring, which was then a customary practice for Roman Catholics. Every president since Eisenhower and Kennedy has made the trip to Rome, with mixed results.
In times of great need, God does send someone.
Pope John Paul II became a strong ally for President Reagan during the Cold War, lending his moral authority to the fight against communism. But John Paul admonished the first President Bush over the U.S.-led war in Iraq in 1991.
We had a major tour d'horizon touching on all the trouble spots.
And did the same to his son over the second Iraq war. For President Obama, this is a second trip to the Vatican. He and Mrs. Obama met with Pope Benedict XVI in 2009, during which the Pope pressed the president on the issues of abortion and stem cell research. While there was talk of policy differences today, there is a little more personal common ground for President Obama and Pope Francis. Both made history when elected, as the first African-American president and the first Latin American pope. Both started off on a wave of popularity. But while President Obama's approval numbers have dropped, Pope Francis's numbers continue to ascend, which is another reason this visit could be a boon for the American president. Candida Moss is a professor of theology at the University of Notre Dame.
Well, generally, presidents are looking to curry the favor of the man that is a spiritual leader of tens of millions of Americans. They're also meeting someone who's a head of state, who has a lot of diplomatic power in the world.
We may never know what they talked about in private, but there was a hint yesterday on the authoritative Vatican radio. They noted the controversy over health care in this country requiring mandatory coverage of sterilization, contraception, and abortion, and about other issues like same-sex marriage. Charlie?
Bill, thanks.